Welcome to the Happy Sensory Corner in Special Education. We ask leaders in special education to share their insights and experiences to better understand how to support students in special education. And the focus at the moment with these episodes is going to be on reducing the use of restraints. Our first guest is Shawn Tuffy, exceptional student education teacher at the Orange County Public Schools in Florida. Shawn, you responded to our call for interviews dealing with reducing restraints, and I think it's going to be really interesting to learn from someone on the proverbial front lines, as we say. Welcome to the podcast, and thank you for being on the show.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm always happy to share my experiences that are very unique, and we can all learn from each other the more we share.
I was looking at your CV a little bit, and you've done a few things. I'm sure we can draw from all those experiences during our interview. I also want to introduce Claudie. Claudie Pomares is the creator of sensory enrichment therapy. She's our chief science officer at Mendability, and we provide this unique evidence-based brain stimulation program to improve the behavior regulation and learning abilities of all students, but especially those who struggle the most. And Claudie will be doing a short training on a sensory enrichment protocol at the end of our interview, so stick around.
Okay.
And I am your host. I'm Kim Pomares, CEO of Mendability. And for those of you who are paying attention, yes, I have the same family name as Claudia, and that's because she is my mom. Hi,
Yeah.
Mom.
Hi, son. I'm happy you're here.
A while back, Claudia needed to help manage her private clinic as it was growing, receiving government funding to accept more and more difficult cases. And I said to her, sure, let me help you for a little bit, and then I'll go back to my other business. And that was 25 years ago. It's funny how life takes us and leads us to where we actually always wanted to be. And I wonder if this is how your life took you to special ed. Can you tell us about what inspired you to get into special ed? What's your
I was kind of fell into it coincidentally. I never had any experience with the special needs population in my whole life, up until I walked in the door and into an intensive unit. I originally came to college to study computer science at UCF. I grew up in New York, came down here to study computer science, and I was kind of getting it, but it wasn't fluent like a lot of the other kids in the class. I'm like, this isn't for me. So, looking for something else to do with my life, I'm like, I kind of would like to do research more on the schizophrenic, bipolar, that kind of angle of things.
Wait, hang on a second. How do you go from computer science to all of a sudden being super specific about schizophrenia?
Uh, it just seemed I always had a good knack for understanding people and why they do things, be it typical people, just anybody on the street, random person. People said you read people really good, so I said maybe I should just do something with that. So might as well use a skill I already have and try to develop a new one, more out of
Right.
convenience and about an actual like calling. So I got my undergrad in psychology from UCF, University of Central Florida. And while I was going, I had to do like a research project for something. And so I ended up near my apartment where I lived at, there was a small group home that served intensive behavioral, mainly ASD, but there were some other disabilities within their population. And I picked up some volunteer hours and I got a job and I ended up working at a group home. I was there for a bit and became a lead staff. Just kind of, okay, I'll be a lead staff. And then as I was there, some of my friends left to work at a charter school. And I'm like, hey, Shawn, you're really good. Why don't you come work at the charter school? I said, okay. Went to the charter school. They liked me, like, why don't you get your teaching license? I said, okay. And that just kept on going. And, almost 20 years later, I am still teaching. Very similar population, though. I'm working with the much younger kids opposed to the 15 plus age group I worked with for a long time.
I just noticed that you and Claudia have something in common. You both have squeaky chairs. Claudia tries to be very still and not move the chair. I think you
uh,
should
my son
No,
spins
I
on this
love
all.
much.
My son
Uh-huh.
spins on this thing all the time. It's probably why it squeaks so much.
I spin on mine.
Tell us about reducing restraints at Orange County Public Schools. It's a big deal for everybody,
Yes.
especially since COVID. We're seeing a pattern of increases in maladaptive behaviors. The children seem to have forgotten how to be around people and be around leaders. And so I'm assuming that you are also seeing an increase in behavior related issues. So what can you tell us what you've tried over the years? And I guess in your experience in your group home would be a useful place to draw as well.
Yeah.
What have you tried?
I think the number one easiest to implement way to cut back restraint is this behavior actually hurting anybody? Um, a lot of people get so defensive and so ready to react that, if someone's stomping their feet, banging the wall with their fist, okay, that's not hurting anybody. That's not hurting themselves. And if you give them a reaction, give them the big audience and everybody jumps in, you could be inadvertently reinforcing that behavior. So a lot of times, just let him be. He'll work it out himself and work with the other students till he's ready. Um, it's just now, it's obviously not for aggression or high intensity self injurious behavior, but for most initial starts of behavior, you're going to see those precursors of, banging the table, stomping his feet, throwing like, a little piece of something that's not going to hurt anybody. Just ignore it and just move on and keep on going. And that's like your number one thing is don't respond really in any sort of way to a negative behavior because attention, whether I'm yelling at you, telling you to stop, it's still attention. So you really got to be mindful of your reaction being either what's encouraging the behavior or escalating it. So ain't hurting nobody. Pound sand all you want, I don't care. That's going to be number one. And then number two is I would say if you know a certain situation causes a problem behavior. Okay, I know, let's say Johnny doesn't like going to the playground. Okay, I can think, okay, do we have to go to the playground? That's the first thing I'll ask myself. Is the playground really worth him putting him in a bad situation? Now, not all playground, just the playground doesn't need to go there, but if I need to go to the bathroom, that's the thing we need to do. So I'm gonna kind of differentiate, okay, what's a need and what's what I want. And I have to let my ego down to say, okay, where's the student at? Do I need to do this? So the staff themselves will say, am I forcing this behavior to happen? Um, versus do we need this to happen? That's just this is part of reality. The child's got to learn how to work through this. So that's number two. If it is something that's needed to get done, or the student has developed enough skills, we're going to work towards it. So if I know it's like on the playground, well, I'm just going to work on walking in the hallway first. Reinforce that, make break the skill down to smaller steps, shape the behavior into okay, playground's bad. We're just going to walk in the hallway, walk back to class. That's going to be hard enough work just doing that small part of it. Get that skill down, break it down to smaller tasks. And today we walked in the hallway, walk back. That's a win. No behavior. I'm going to reinforce it. If he's going to have some problems, screaming, yelling, maybe pushing me a little bit, we're just going to walk down. I'm just going to walk a little bit. I'm not going to let the low intensity slaps. I'm like, okay, hey, it's not hurting me really that much. I'm just going to walk back and say, okay, good job, move on, just to make sure, like, hey, that wasn't that hard. You did it. It kind of ignore the low intensity stuff. It's really, really important. Teach those base skills. And obviously, like communication's part of it. Um, some of our guys can't speak out, they can't communicate. I don't want to go there, but we all know that they can. I don't like come to the playground. So communication is some part of it, but you do want to teach a replacement skill. Say no, break. Some people picture exchanges, whatever that child's preferred communication method is. That's where we're going to go for. Um, but just breaking those skills down, where's the kid at, and then work towards that small steps, small steps, small steps. It can be a little more challenging in the classroom than a group home because in a group home, usually your numbers are a little more better or this kind of more maybe still 3-1, but there's more bodies, so it's easy to move half the group to the playground, half the group stays back. In the classroom setting, you're 10 kids and 3 staff. Splitting up so much can be a little more challenging if you have a difficult group. So in the classroom, those are the kind of situations I feel is the most challenging in the class when, say, we have 8 kids that are fine at the playground, but now I have 2 kids that are not, and then leaving a staff one-on-one with 2 kids in the classroom setting. I feel like those are my biggest challenges when you have to try to manage behaviors and managing staff numbers in a safe way where everyone gets supervision. I try to always keep 2 staff in the same room just to make sure someone gets hurt. Always eyes on someone. Say if a kid bangs his head, if there's 2 staff there, saw what happened. It's not going to be he said, she said. It's a child that can't communicate how they got hurt. You don't want the parent or the staff, being accused of something when if you had 2 eyes in there, it would have never been an issue. And then plus, a student does get hurt, and it's only happened a couple times in my career. Like, what happened? And I say, I don't know. That really hurts parent trusts. So those are my biggest concerns. Just keeping the visuals up. I used to work in a school, a charter school that had cameras in the classrooms. And at first, you always worry of, oh, they're going to judge me. But after like that first time a parent complains about you, and then you watch a tape, and oh, your own student did this, your own child did this, and you're like, man, those cameras are really, really nice when they're on your side. So, yes, I don't like my bosses. Shawn, you're on your cell phone, 5 minutes today. Of course, I don't like that. But, you know, not getting put in jail for a questionable situation that you weren't doing anything wrong, but that kind of coverage was kind of nice. So not having that in a public school is, it is what it is. But
We were talking to a special education director who was talking about the benefits of having cameras in the classroom and how she tried to break the ice whenever they were going to review the incident on video for, team training purposes. And how she would make a joke about what she was wearing or something like that to kind of de-escalate a little bit the tension. Claudie, I feel like well, you tell me what you think, but I was thinking we could change the order a little bit. And usually we wait till the end of the podcast and you come up with some kind of bomb that you drop, say, this is a fantastic protocol that's going to help with this part. The brain's going to be fantastic for this particular situation. But we've never done the Mendability Minute. And I'd love to get Shawn's raw um, response after we describe what it is. How about that?
You read my mind. Because what I hear when you're talking, Shawn, is that you know your students so well. And you have to anticipate. You're not only doing your job at the moment, but you're doing the job you are supposed to do in 15 minutes or in an hour, because like recess is going to happen at 10:30. You're already thinking about it, maybe at 9:45 or earlier. And it's inevitable because you chose for 20 years to take care of children that don't fit in the typical environment and line up nicely, if that is nice. And so, yeah, I think I was definitely thinking, how about we give you something that may help uh, before recess or right when you start the class. And I talk a lot about that school in Australia that has implemented the Mendability Minute or Sensory Start. One of the two. I always mix up the names. But
Sensory Minute, Mendability Start.
I was wrong again.
I know, I'm just talking about all the permutations.
Okay, fine. Right. Sensory mendability. And anyway, knowing that the children get into your classroom with a past, even at 7:45, they already have things in their heart, in their mind, in their body that has happened, and you are receiving that history, that story that makes them less attentive, less able to pay attention because they are not all of them the happiest. So what we have set up for schools, and I'm talking about that school in Australia because they were really the typical your school with exceptional children. And they were telling us that they had to do more management than teaching. And there was quite a lot of people. That's why I'm amazed at your resilience. 20 years that needs to be celebrated. Not too many people with the vocation stay that long because
No.
it's so hard.
Yeah, especially on the ground level, like hands-on level. Like
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I
Yes.
I've only gotten hurt twice in 20 years, and I haven't. Unfortunately, I haven't gone on light duty for either time. So
Yeah, I've been hurt too. But so the idea for us is to get the children as they get into the classroom in a state where they are ready to learn or they are ready to be calm. And we do that using several elements that are very scientifically demonstrated. We just put them in the life of kids. So the elements, maybe you're already using that concept of the diminishing the level of light. As the kids come in, the light is low. And as they come in, if you are able to, giving them maybe a cotton ball, maybe a little felt piece that has a nice scent to it. We typically use things that are familiar to children, like orange or lemon, something that is part of life, in particular in Florida. You grow
yeah.
them in your backyard. So there's no worry of allergies about that. And as they come in, each of them get their little scented object, and they also get a soft touch with the tips of the fingers. We call it the gentle claw. We can call it anything, but we pair two sensory stimulations that we know from science that they boost the release of dopamine and serotonin. It's like giving them a sip of dopamine, serotonin as they come in, just you get their brain to it, like systematically, automatically, as the child is smelling and receiving. And usually, because they are not used to it, we do the shoulders or we do as much of the back as they tolerate. So the pairing of this multiplies the release of dopamine by 4, meaning they had 100% of their own. As soon as you're done and they start moving to the chair, they have 400% the release of dopamine. Dopamine is being motivated, in a good mood, feeling pleasure, and being able to control your movement. A lot of kids are hyperactive because of the poor function of dopamine. We are making that better. And two other things are happening. Music, orchestral music, that doesn't need to be boring classical. I say boring because some people find it boring. It can be score of a movie. It can even be video games music, because now you have symphonic orchestras playing those pieces, and they are sometimes familiar to the children, so they enjoy it. Listening to music, in fact, you cannot avoid it. If music is playing and loud enough to just be the main sound in the room, boosts in the brain the production of serotonin and dopamine again. These two are the keys for behaviors. And we
You
have
didn't talk
found,
about the art. You only talked about the music.
yes, it's coming.
Okay.
I'm walking to it. Yeah. And the last thing that you have on the smart board or on the whiteboard, if you don't have a smart board, you have a slideshow of art. And even if the kids just glance once as they go to their chair to sit down, or the pad if they sit on the floor, there is again an increase of dopamine serotonin. And doing that every day leads to something very amazing. Like you are going to be able to change how the brain works in a positive way by doing it every day. Because if you boost every day, the brain start to produce even more, not just on the moment, release more, but start to produce more. So gradually the children are more motivated, happier, more able to stay calm. And then you are able to teach. And this is, it lasts just the time they all are sitting down. And we have descriptions from schools, but Australia for sure, where they are telling us now we can teach. This is what we were here to do, and now we are able to do it because the children are more peaceful, more comfortable, more aware, more attentive. So if you feel that you can use that sensory minute, then you may not have to work harder when the time for recess is coming and you have to decide, okay, who is going to be able to stay or who is going to be able to go. So, what do you think?
Um, I mean, I would want to see it in action. I'm not obviously. You mentioned they come into the classroom. You mentioned touching something. They mentioned like touching something, some sensory input, like music, art, those sort of things. Like I generally, when they enter my class, like when they come into arrivals and then they eventually come to my classroom, I usually have like a low. I usually have an aquarium picture, like aquarium, on my
Uh,
smart board. Some
oh,
like, music backgrounds. That's just kind of normal.
uh,
Um, I walk them once I get my classroom. I walk them to put away their backpacks every day. That's routine and structure every day. I don't care how high or functioning low they are.
yeah,
They all come and put their backpacks down immediately once they're in the classroom, and that's just what's expected. And obviously, the first few days they're whining for the first
yeah,
2, and then they're like, now they walk there. They kind of drag their feet, but they do it. And the higher functioning kids are excited to go do it. Say no, once they put it away, they can go get a toy. And usually, like since all my guys are young, I'm right now I'm teaching the 3 to 5 year olds. My immediate first thing I do when I get them in the classroom, usually their bladders are at their fullest right at that point. We go
oh,
right to potty training right away. And
oh, good.
so I have a bathroom in my classroom, thankfully. So I'll have like one kid go in, my other 9 kids in the room, and they get to play right away. I let them come into play as we're doing potty training. So they have a bit more of, hey, it's fun right away. I may get pulled away for 30 seconds to go pee. But I even let them bring a toy in there with them. Like I need you to go pee. I don't need to take away. I'm not about this list isn't about taking away your toys. About I need you to use the bathroom. So I go right into that right away. I have a pretty good group this year, so it's been really successful. Other years, it's been a lot harder because I've had some students that come in a lot more higher anxiety, like just that the COVID. I hate to use the word COVID baby, but when you're at pre-K, kids that were born in 2020, they start school in 2023 when at 3 years old. I'm the first time they've really had socialization away from that one house. And I wouldn't even say it's behavior as like a regular function of behavior, as in like, oh, I'm trying to get access or escape. It's just anxiety. Pure, they need to build trust in you, period. I mean, that's it. Um, so, like I remember I had kids come in, and so, I mean, I had a kid come in. It was hard to get him from arrivals into my classroom. That alone was I was either carrying him or I would take 20 minutes to fight the fight to get him to walk. And he'd fall to the ground and cry, but like I'll wait. I'll just wait, and then I would take a step away. And as he got more trust in me, he wanted to cry, but he wanted to cry next to me, of course. So I would just walk 5 foot, come next to me. He'd cry for a little bit, then I'd walk a few more feet. He'd come to me to cry, eventually get him in the classroom. And then once he came in the classroom and he got to the door, he would fall to the ground and cry. I'm like, you're good. I got other work I got to do right now. You can cry there till you're good. And then since I had kids that were more intense, I had to play like not the calming kind of stuff. I had to have like the junk YouTube stuff on, like the super simple songs, the Coca Melon, just to go from the I need you to like coming in here. And so I had that just that was on. And when that was on more often than I wanted it to, the music no longer had a calming effect or like I couldn't just play the calming music as a thing. It had to be this high sensory input of like I say junk music, but like hard to focus music is a better word to say.
You
And so
like the
fading
banana
that
phone, those kinds of songs?
and just like because there were so many kids crying and screaming that were coming in. I'm like I had to start there, and then it had to be about 3 4 months so I could fade that out to something more calm. This year, my kids are a little more socialized, so I was able to start off on the lower music, but the calming stuff, and then if they've been good and we finish our bathroom time, center time, circle time, we do all like they earn 5 minutes of Cocomelon, like you've earned that privilege opposed to we had to start there because then just walking to the classroom used to be the task. This year's group, they can kind of do pretty good. They can kind of, if you give them what they need, they'll give it back. But like this year group's been very good. Like other years, whew, we had some moments. Yeah, to put it lightly, we had moments.
Mhm.
Awesome. Did you um sorry, I have a couple of directions I'm thinking about going with this. I'd like to come back to the sense of smell a little bit maybe later on, but let's talk about what is the biggest um when's the last time you had to bring in a new program that came from the top and that was really successful?
Like, are we talking like behavior?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be related to behavior, but if it is related to behavior, it's even better.
We tend to have most of Orange County stuff comes through. They have these like countywide initiatives not done very well. They seem to be giving us new academic curriculums regularly, probably every 2 to 3 years. Um, and I'm like, that's nice. I wouldn't ask for a new curriculum. I wasn't, and it ends up being so much work to adjust this new curriculum to my classroom that I'm like, I might as well just make my own materials. Uh, I have more visual stuff. I'm trying to think. We have behavior therapists at our school, but they tend to get pulled more often to the typical classrooms. Uh, and they're like, Shawn, you know what you're doing, so call me if you need me because I'm really busy. And I get like apologies almost like 3 times a week. Sorry I didn't stop by today. Student in other classes give me difficulties. I'm like, I got it. You know, it's generally like that. I've been
So
doing it for
what was the last program that got brought in that
from
you thought was really good?
now at my public schools. I don't really have a behavior system coming in. They kind of don't support us a lot in Florida. um, be it as training, be it as like, well, here's this new system we're going to try to learn behaviorally. We don't have a lot of that. The
How do they expect you to I mean you seem like you had a good read and you talk about your natural ability to be able to help people that way, but how do other teachers do it?
um, they we are very short teachers in Florida. Most ESC teachers last a year or two, and then they're gone. They're not supported well in our state. So like right now we have at my school we're just a pre-K. We're a typical school, but we do have a pre-K unit of special needs. Out of our 5 classrooms, only 2 of them have certified teachers in them. The rest are run by substitute teachers. So they're not supporting teachers much behaviorally wise in our current public school settings. So a lot of teachers are floundering, looking for help. Now, I have a lot of experience. I've dealt with high intensity behaviors. I have a lot of experience. So I just be like, just keep going. The kids will get it. That's generally my just keep on moving. Don't panic. Keep on going, and give the structure and routine. And the kids kind of fall in line eventually. It may take 3 weeks, it may take 3 months, but the structure and routine. Just be patient. Don't give them a big reaction. But a lot of teachers, they'll start calling for assistance and they don't always get it quick enough. And then they get frustrated and they quit. Now, when I've worked at private or charter schools, those situations are a bit better. Um, at the group homes, like, they do a lot more training because when I get trainings in the county, they'd be like, oh, we're going to learn about the whole school gets a training, and that training is based off of like taking working making kids do perform well in a standardized test, teaching how to do reading. I'm like, this doesn't apply to my guys at all. And then so most of the I would say 98% of trainings I'm given in school, like on those like weekly trainings, don't apply to me on any level. So a lot of our staff are just caught like, this doesn't apply to me. I still don't know what I'm doing. And so they come to their I if they have a problem, they come to me and be like, just ignore it, keep on going. That's what I tell them, like, ignore 90% of the behaviors. They want attention, especially with the younger kids. They just want your attention. When they're good, I want to say when they're good. When the absence of the bad behavior, you need to go in and give them attention. I'm like that when they're not screaming. I know you want to take a break because you're quiet for 5 minutes. Like, come in, give them a hug, give them the high five. Like, it's that reinforcing the absence of a behavior. I really push towards my staff. Even though I'm not the behavior person, I tend to be the behavior person in my unit just out of just necessity. But yeah, that's district wide. There's not a lot of behavior programs coming through. Now in the charter schools and private schools, there's a lot more. I remember you doing brain gym. I'm not sure if you heard of that.
Hmm.
It's a very simple. You mentioned scent and touch. It's a little more where they do certain movements like the crossing midline. There'll be the brushing we do. We do different exercises and routines daily. It's kind of a similar thing. Instead of walking the classroom and touching or smelling scent, she mentioned quickly, or music, it was more of like a physical activity we did. A lot of crossing midline, a lot of those kind of things. And those were pretty good. And so the kids almost look forward to that as part of their routine of the day. I don't know if it helped them behaviorally all the time, but it was a good activity the kids liked and they were moving. And so I used it and it could have been really beneficial. It may not have been, but the kids enjoyed it. And
You're talking about it in the past. You're not doing those types of activities anymore?
I do not do it as much, mainly because when I worked at a charter school, I will say my assistant skill level and knowledge base was much higher. Most of my assistants were bachelor's degree level. So their skill level is much higher. In the public school setting, I'm supposed to have two assistants. Probably about half the time I've had two just substitute paras where they would just rotate regularly. I've had one stable para and the other one's been a substitute the last about 2 years.
And to implement something like this, you need a stable staff, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because like if I feel like I'm training someone every day, I train you today, you're here for 3 days, and next week's gonna be something new, and I'm not wanting to spend the time how to train you to do this properly because I'm gonna spend, 2, 3 hours this week training you. If you're not here this week, I just lost all that time and losing some of the connection with my students. I'm like, and something like a brain gym sensory input, like it takes some skill to implement those things, and they're very successful. But I need qualified staff that are going to be here next week that get it. Like we have now the for to be an assistant in Orange County, it's at least the for the permanent assistant you need to be a 2 year degree, and they're some you get are really good, some are still have a lot to learn. Um, so, but when you have 10 kids and only two staff that are regular in the class, and the third one, it ends up being like you just move away from it because the time it takes to implement and train your work, it's almost like I got to choose what's important now to get through this week, opposed to what's best long term because your staffing is inconsistent.
So you talked about doing music and the visual stimulation with the aquarium, and you talked about I don't know, did you do dimming the lights?
Um, I don't consciously do it. I have four light switches in my collection, so I can go higher and lower. I don't. I probably could probably implement that a little better because usually I don't have the full light on when I walk in, but maybe I can just have like I have half light on. I don't go like 25% light.
It
Uh,
depends on if you have natural light coming in too. What we're talking about dimming lights is reducing the harshness of the environment. And there's something that happens when you go from a bright environment into a slightly dim environment that automatically makes your body want to relax. And so it's a
oh yeah,
physiological reaction. It's the same with the music. We're inducing a physiological reaction. The same with the art. It's a physiological reaction. We're not telling them to calm down. We're making their bodies want to calm down physiologically.
now
I want to go back to the sense of smell.
mhm.
Claudia, do you want to talk about the interrupt effect? I know you talked about the stimulating, but you didn't talk about, too much about the soothing and the interrupt effect that smell has. Can you talk about that a
Yeah.
little bit?
Yeah, in fact, again, because of intense research on in that area, it was found that when you're smelling, you cannot be really doing anything else or even thinking about anything else. And you can maybe make extra money by making bets with your colleagues. Because I did it not for money, just for the fun, with somebody extremely educated, extremely smart. And I said, you cannot tell me what this is smelling like as if you walk. You will have to stop. And of course, I can do that because I'm very smart. And he started walking and stopped and said, it's true.
Yeah,
Because smelling has extreme power on us. It's covering almost all brain functions, and it retains some memories. Most of the time, it's pleasurable memories when we talk about the fruit I was mentioning. And the brain has to stop. It's a sort of a reflex of defense. It could be about something dangerous, but if you try, you'll get this experience that your body, everything stops for the millisecond you're trying to figure out what you're smelling.
We
So that
do a full training on the meltdown. We call it the meltdown de-escalation protocol, but half of it is the sense of smell. We talk about ice as well and cold as a way to boost if we need to complement in some severe situations. But we use the sense of smell in a few different ways, and we also use it in our full therapy program of brain stimulation and brain development and regeneration, all of that stuff. So where was I going with that? I forgot.
what I
Claudia,
can
continue your train of thought. I'll catch up with mine soon.
Yeah, the great thing I like from our experience with training schools around the world is the fact that it doesn't cost anything. And when you talk about training, the amount of time it takes to train about an activity which you have learned about yourself, and it takes, like you said, 3 hours in a week. Don't have that. Where this little protocol that I was talking about, you just tell the person, "Can you give that to him and brush his shoulders, send him to the." It's it does not take training,
yeah.
and the fact if they can help you with it as you take Joe and then Samantha to the bathroom, the assistant can totally hold on, uh, hand the little smell nice thing, give a quick back rub. The music is playing. The aquarium is gorgeous. Is a wonderful idea that would not change. I don't have scientific study about the impact of looking at the aquarium, but I am sure there should be because it is very relaxing. So it's a wonderful choice that you made. So you are very close to implementing something that may help your little
Um,
kids.
just a now you mentioned scent, like you making the item have scent is what you're is
Yeah,
is having let's just cut to the chase here. Is like having imagine we had like a scent in the room. Just they
yeah,
walk in, the whole room's
yeah,
already the whole room's
Mm,
already scented. Like
yes,
to,
but
absolutely.
no.
would
I
that
mean,
have hear
Yeah,
me out? Would that have a satiation effect?
when they come
exactly.
in.
This
Yeah,
and this is why having it in the room is not the best idea. It's a bit of a compromise on the ideal. Zero is, what you're talking about is better than nothing, but it will only work for the first 2 seconds that the students walk into the classroom.
Okay.
And then they get that satiation effect that you're talking about. This is why we give them, in fact, we don't give them one. We typically give them two, uh, and then they pick one out of the two. And the effort of picking the one they want for that day is sufficient to induce a stimulation we're looking for. But then they go to their desk and they own that piece of equipment. And very quickly, they will learn that if they want to feel the same way they felt when they walked into the room, they just have to reach to that thing that you've given them. So that's why you only want to give them a scented cotton pad in a Ziploc, something that's, an easy consumable.
Okay.
And preparing, sometimes I would suggest classrooms to get, a bunch of cotton balls from the dollar store or whichever, where it's very cheap, put a few drops and put it on the side for the next day so that in the morning, there's you can don't have time to do one at a time.
Cotton balls are odd because they're gonna have kids that mouth those things. They're gonna get nasty real fast.
Okay. We
I
can find a piece of cardboard or
Yeah, it's gonna be something that's not so.
We use
yeah,
candy flavoring oils. They're highly concentrated, and one drop will scent a few
Yeah,
cotton balls, but they're meant to be
taste.
ingested in a
something that's
candy.
not so. I have kids that pull things apart that mouth that lower functioning kids that they're still mouthing objects. Some of my guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
So cotton balls, we need a that would probably not be the best item to put the scent on in my class. What the item is, I don't know. Different idea. But uh, I need something better than cotton balls in my class. So let's be honest, because I remember doing art project with my guys using cotton balls, and that's a lot of work.
Yeah, I'm seeing cotton everywhere in the classroom in 2 minutes because now you have 10 kids playing it. Because they're gonna see one of them is gonna start pulling at the cotton ball and they're
Yeah,
all gonna think, oh, that sounds like a fun
yeah.
idea.
Like
And
I have
now I'm
my
seeing cotton there.
one
You're
kid's
gonna
gonna
be
pull
able to
right
make
away.
t-shirts every day.
Yeah, one kid's gonna pull it right away. Two kids are gonna copy him. Three of my kids are gonna start putting in their mouth, and then the other like kids will just be watching like, what's the cotton ball for? It'll be like that mix, and I,
Hmm.
I don't want that to be more of the you know one cotton ball for one kid seems easy to manage. 10 cotton balls for 10 kids starts getting confusing.
You were talking about giving them a toy or them accessing toys. What kind of toys do they have access to?
um, it depends on the student. I have a lot of toys in my class, like right off the bat. So like some of my kids will like the stuffed animals, some of my kids will like the cars, some of my kids like the blocks, some of my kids like. You ever see those fidget spinners? I got
Hmm.
some that have suction cups, and so they go on the wall and they'll spin them really good. I have those little like pipes that goes in and out. Um,
The what? Pipes?
like they're like these plastic pipes, and they can scrunch down or pull out.
Yes.
I have some of those, and like every kid kind of has their little niche where they go. I'm like that, or one kid likes lining up the dinosaurs. Every kid goes to their. I can say if I all my toys.
Oh, hang on. Are you saying that they go to a bin and then they pick a toy there and then they go to their desk? Is it the process?
Well, I mean, I want to say a bin, but like I have like open bookshelves, and I have the toys right there. And they walk up and they grab what the toy they like. And now I don't really have we're pre-K, so I have more tables and actual desks. Some kids will play on the floor, some kids will bring it to a table. Some kids will play around the
But
classroom.
they go to a specific location in the classroom and then they leave that specific location and go to a different location. What I'm thinking here, maybe you have an open scented product, not something that was going to diffuse through the room, but something that will stay localized. So when they go there,
You hit
they
it with
get
it
that
right there.
olfaction effect in a passive way, the same way the music and the light has. What do you think, Claudie?
Yeah, I was already putting something on that shelf.
You kind of know, like I have say like two or three bookshelves. You know where the good stuff's at, for lack of a better word. It's just sometimes
Hmm.
here's the ones that we know they're going to, and they're going to start looking. But
That's where we put a
like
scent diffuser of some kind.
say you had a
Yeah.
dispenser right there at that desk, like you had a nice branded suspender that either like, permanent tape to the surface or like
Mm-hmm.
locks onto it, and then the staff can just like tap it with the little spray or whatever it ends up applying
Yep.
Yeah.
right there at that point, and then boom, 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 and doles it out.
Yeah, and it's connected with the moment of pleasure of choosing their toy. So that
Yeah,
would be
Yep.
great.
that would that would be a better if you want to get a kid to smell it and somebody want
Mm-hmm.
that would be like a if you had a branded thing you put on the
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm writing this down because this is going to be added to the list of tips because you've spoken to one classroom, you've spoken to one classroom. Everybody has unique
You met one
situations and
autistic child, you
challenges.
met one autistic child.
Yeah, but I feel like there's going to be a lot of mouthers, there's going to be a lot of terrors, there's going to be a lot of
Enrichment.
pickers,
Yeah.
and what I think what we're developing here is a way of solving a lot of those problems that I think are common to a lot of self-contained special ed classrooms.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a good group this year. Like I feel like my kids are better behaved in a typical classroom this year. Um, like
Isn't it often the case? We hear that a lot,
oh no, I've never said that in my life.
Shawn. We that well, first of all, anything that works in special ed will work for gen ed.
Oh yeah.
Everybody,
100%. 100%.
and so the effort that you put in to help your kids be happier and calmer in the classroom are transferable skills. We
That's
should have gen ed be trained in special ed, not the other way around.
yeah, yeah. It's very interesting that like people say, "Oh, you know how to work with autistic kids, you know how to work with bright kids, or vice versa." I'm like, it's the same stuff, but like, I teach a developmental age, so how you treat a normal 2-year-old is how I treat my 4-year-olds that act like 2-year-olds. My kids that act like they're 1-year-old, I treat them like a regular 1-year-old. My kids that act like that, you just go to developmental age, but you pretty much teach them the same way. You talk to them the same way. You expect the same things. Like I expect my 9-month developmental kids. I'm not going to tell them no. I'm just going to take away the toy, what they can't put in their mouth, and something that's more appropriate to put in their mouth. That's how I'm going to deal with that. But then the kid that's like, no, you're too old for that. Stop. Like the kid that's higher functioning, communicate. I'm like, you're not mouthing objects anymore. We're not doing that. And say you can play with the car appropriately. We can go do this game. We can do that game. Because it should be passed that developmentally. So I'll tell them no for this, but like, here's how you're going to play appropriately. Here's where you're going to enjoy your time at, and they get it. But it's the developmental age is what you got to really get across to people.
And in gen ed, you have some 12-year-olds behaving like 8-year-olds.
Yeah, some adults that act.
Well, I wasn't going to
Good.
go there.
Uh, okay.
I
Well,
think we just lost Shawn. Fortunately, he's frozen in a very flattering position.
Hello.
Welcome
aha.
back.
Yeah, my
Yay.
Wi-Fi went out for a minute for some reason.
I was just saying that what you just said was a perfect way to end the podcast. So thank you for coming back just to say goodbye.
Hey, no problem, man.
Thank you and good luck.
Well, thank you so much. You guys have any questions or whatever? Just hit me up. I'm usually available on some level.
And
I'm,
same if you
I'm
have
happy.
questions.
I'm happy to hear my own voice usually. So,
Yeah.
All right. Well, goodbye, everybody. And to our audience, see you in a couple of weeks.
Bye.